Hello, my name is CR Gibbs, and this is the story of Juneteenth. On Monday, June 19th, 1865, Union Major General Gordon Granger, at his headquarters at the Osterman Building at 22nd and Strand in Galveston, Texas, issued General Order Number 3 to the residents of the state. The order read, quote, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere." Unquote. Granger soon left Galveston for 6 weeks of travel inside the state to inform its citizens that emancipation had arrived in the Lone Star State. Spontaneous celebrations erupted among the newly freed African Americans as news of freedom spread. In many parts of the state, however, such expressions of joy had to be tempered. The collapse of the Confederate government and its military forces filled Texas roads and plains with angry, desperate rebel deserters, many of whom became, as the Union Army noted, quote, "banditti," guerrillas, jayhawkers, horse thieves, outlaws, and enemies of the human race, unquote. Some of these men were also likely to have fought black soldiers. For example, at the Battle of Palmetto Ranch near Brownsville, Texas, on May 13th, 1865, in one of the last battles of the Civil War, the 62nd Regiment United States Colored Troops took part. The 62nd USCT was one of several African American units that had been stationed at Brazos, Santiago in southeastern Texas since 1864. Some of those troops would be part of the Union occupation forces in Texas after the war. Texas had been considered the last great frontier of slavery in the United States. By the time of the Civil War, 250,000 enslaved people of African descent labored in the nation's largest state. Although the Emancipation Proclamation included Texas, it had become clear that only military aid could force abolition there. Slave labor was essential to the economic vitality of the state. A state history book records that the assessed value of all slaves in Texas was 20% more than the assessed value of all cultivated land. In 1836, enslaved African Americans had helped clear the land for Houston's original town site. On the eve of the Civil War, they made up 22% of the city's population. In the plantation areas around Houston, they made up 49% of the total population of Harris County and surrounding counties. Freedom festivals in honor of the June 19th Day of Emancipation, which quickly became known as Juneteenth, that's a contraction of June and 19th, ultimately could not be stopped. In many parts of the state, ex-slaves purchased land or emancipation parks for the Juneteenth gatherings. There was an Emancipation Park near Austin. What is now Booker T. Washington Park in Mexia started out as an Emancipation Park. One year, an estimated 30,000 blacks gathered at the park, which is also known as Comanche Crossing. One of the most famous locations is Emancipation Park in Houston. The 10-acre park dates back to 1872 and has been the scene of picnics, banquets, dances, sports fields, and a bandstand. Now you may ask, what was a Juneteenth celebration like? Well, I don't have to tell you, the joy was infectious. It was a way in which to renew family ties, meet new people, and I think I can best give an example by letting one of the publications of the time speak for itself. This is from the Brackett, Texas News Mail, dated June 22nd, 1917. The newspaper article is entitled Juneteenth. It reads, quote, "The colored population of this town, assisted by others from Del Rio, Uvalde, Eagle Pass, San Antonio, and from all over the section, made their Juneteenth Tuesday, one of the merriest and most celebrated days ever seen here. Starting off with festivities that lasted all day and well into the next morning, these people mixed in a riot of fun with their celebration. And their picnic grounds near the Los Morris Springs were the scene of practically an all-day celebration done in diverse ways. Talks, songs, etc. were indulged in. In the afternoon was the crowning event of the day, a ball game between the local colored team and the Sunset Central colored team of San Antonio. The game, after promising the first two innings to be a good one, turned out to be a farce, with the San Antonians getting the small end of a 21-6 score. Practically all the colored population and many white people were present to see the ball game, and such fun was never seen and heard before, as it was a farce comedy of the most fierce sort. The night saw their dance at Olympia Hall, and they enjoyed themselves well into the morning, when they all went home, happy and satisfied with their efforts. In justice, the newspaper continued, it is right to say that their celebration was the best they ever had and the most enjoyed here. They had their fun, and the rest of the town had theirs too." Juneteenth continued to be important and could not, as I said earlier, be stopped. We know that Juneteenth celebrations continued into the 20th century, becoming a kind of 4th of July, with barbecue and basket dinners, parades, pageants, speakers, and services, prayer services, readings of the Emancipation Decree, stories from ex-slaves, dances, games, rodeos, and barrels of red soda water symbolizing the bloodshed during slavery were all parts of the Juneteenth celebration. Today, the original homemade drink has been replaced at many observances by the consumption of Big Red carbonated soft drinks. A century ago, Dallas celebrants were encouraged to dress up for Juneteenth with suits for $20 and up. Pants were $6 and up. The celebrations ebbed and flowed at various times through the mid and late 20th century. Finally, in 1980, in part because of the guidance of Texas State Representative Al Edwards, Juneteenth became an official Texas state holiday, and one that is rapidly spreading to every part of the United States. Thank you.